I love coffee. All right, so this is my promised Bell's palsy video. So I had Bell's palsy attack my life about 16 years ago. I am about to be 47 and I was 31 at the time. I had been married just for 6 months and it was devastating. So a little bit of backstory that I'm not sure is related, but I feel it has to be. So about 6 months before I got married, so that would have been about a year before my Bell's palsy came on, I had a sore in my nose. Now we've all had like, I don't know, like a boo-boo in your nose of some kind. I guess. I feel like it's a common thing, but I had this whopper of a sore develop inside my nose, and I was like, what is going on? I work in the medical profession. I work in the medical field, so I am surrounded by medical professionals constantly. So anyway, so I had this sore inside my nose that was actually like making my nose be swollen on the outside. It was like misshaping my nose. People would be like, dude, your nose, what is going on? And I'm like, I know, I don't know what it is. I finally had a coworker kind of take me aside and be like, we need to do something about that. That's probably like seems like a really bad infection. So I got a couple of prescriptions to treat that, and it was decided that it was likely a cold sore. I had never had a cold sore in my life, and I never had any around my lips. I don't know where the hell it came from. But the medication that was prescribed was antivirals and something for the infection. And it did clear up. And I never heard from that little boo-boo again. And at that point, and life went on its merry way. And I was told that it was probably stress that brought it on. Planning a wedding. I'm not a terribly stressful kind of person. I'm not really high drama, high maintenance. But I guess planning a wedding and working and, being a mom, could be stressful, and maybe it was stress that I was just processing fine, but my body reacting to. It went away with the medication. Fast forward a year, I've now gotten married, and it's, about the same time. It was spring, and I had been at the baseball field with my daughter. My little girl was 6 at the time, and she was playing Little League baseball. So we had been at the field all day, and we finally got home at night, had dinner, showers, whatever, put the little one to bed. And I noticed as I was getting ready for bed, I had, when your eye twitches, my eye was twitching, but it wasn't just like the normal twitching. It was like full on twitching like crazy. And my cheek was twitching around here, and my lip was full on like twitching. It was like a pinball action between the eye, the spot on the cheek, and the lip. And I was like, what is going on with my face? Why is my face geeking out like this? And I just chalked it up to the fact that we had been on the field all day, and I was probably dehydrated and needed some rest and had gotten too much sun. So I, had a nice meal and a nice big drink of water, went to bed, and the next morning when I woke up, my husband had to work overnight. It was some strange thing happening at work, and he had to work overnight. And he had come home in the morning, and he had come into the bedroom while I was still in bed, but I was awake, and he said something that made me laugh, and like a big full face laugh. I'm a very animated laugher, and when I laughed, I felt something strange. I could tell, like, what is wrong with my face? And I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, I'm probably still dehydrated, whatever. I went and looked in the mirror, and as I remember back, I think it actually happened right then, like when I laughed, because when I looked in the mirror, I remember like making faces and smiling big and squinching my face and everything, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. It didn't look right, but it wasn't like the typical when someone has Bell's palsy or a stroke and the face is droopy. It wasn't like that. It was just, I couldn't figure out which side something was wrong with. I knew something was wrong with my face, but I couldn't figure out which side had something wrong with it. So the more I spent time in front of the mirror, now mind you, my husband and my daughter are downstairs, life goes on, having breakfast, whatever. And I'm in the bathroom freaking the freak out because something is wrong with my face. And the more I looked in the mirror and watched what was happening, I could see, I figured it out, that this side of my face was remaining expressionless, while this side of my face would smile big and frown big, and you know, my eyebrows would go up, but this one wouldn't, and my eyes would close, but this one wouldn't. And I was like, oh my God, am I having a stroke? Holy shit, I think I'm having a stroke now. The little one was just 6 at the time. She's 22 now. She was just 6 at the time, so I called my husband up to the bathroom and I said, listen, look at my face. I don't know what's going on. I'm either like having a stroke, which everything else felt fine. I had no like weakness of hands or legs or anything. I said, I think it's probably Bell's palsy. Have you heard of that? Because I didn't want to freak my husband out because he's pretty easily alarmed. He worries. I don't worry. So he was like, yeah, I know what that is. Some guy at work had that. And I said, I think that's what this is. And he was like, oh, what do we do? Blah, 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 blah. So I went to urgent care and got right in that day, and they were like, well, there's nothing we can really do. And I was like, bullshit, I know you can. You can give me antivirals and prednisone, and please do that. So I was a little bit of a fight. They were like, well, these things just have to take their course. And I'm like, bullshit, because it's well known that within a certain time frame of onset, which was, as far as I was concerned, 7 o'clock that morning. Maybe it was overnight, but it was still less than 24 hours. And it's well known that within a certain number of hours of onset, antivirals are very helpful and can help. And the prednisone is, I guess at the time, I'm not sure what the treatment is now, but the prednisone was kind of iffy. Like maybe the thought was maybe the steroid would hurry up and reduce the amount of swelling on the affected nerve and help it go back to what it should be. So I insisted on antivirals and prednisone. Got them. Be an advocate for yourself. Advocate for yourself. When you go to the doctor's office, there is an amount of respect you have to have for a medical profession. They've gone to school, they've, earned their degree, and you are going to them for help. You are seeking help from them. So don't go in like an asshole and say what you want, but go in and have a discussion. And if you feel you're being blown off, just ask them to cite you the sources and, in the proof, the research, the documentation that backs up what they're asking you to do or denying you. But like I said, that you're seeking help from them, so there is a amount of respect you have to have. So it's it makes it seem like I demanded, but I didn't. I just went in and said that I firmly wish to be very aggressive with my treatment, given that I was a young mother and a new bride, and I didn't exactly want to look like a monster. So anyway, so they did give me the antivirals and the prednisone. So I tried. This was over a weekend, thankfully, but I did try to go to work Monday, and I had a really hard time. Bell's palsy, according to documentation, usually doesn't hurt, is painless. Mine was not painless. I had facial pain like about here up and up into my scalp, and it felt like someone was just pulling up on a muscle or something. It felt like it was being wrung out like a washcloth. Any attempt at normal movement of my face, this side of my face was moving normal, this side was not, but like if I would smile, it would just yank and pull, and it was just exhausting. And like I said, I work in the medical profession, so I see patients all day long. I can't go hide out somewhere and just do my job not having to deal with anyone. I have to greet people and be friendly and be supportive and be helpful, and you can't do that when your face is like a monster and you look like a monster and you're in pain, and it's exhausting. So I did try to work for a few days, probably the better part of a week, and I had some people say such rude things. If you don't know what someone's going through, like the worst thing you can do is tell someone, why don't you smile? You should smile. I physically couldn't smile. I could not smile. So when you tell someone, and it's not like I was walking around scowling, I would just walk around expressionless and be like, good morning, my name is Jane. I will be helping you today, blah, 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 at the doctor's office, you know? So for people to say, you should smile, and I'm like, you should fuck off. I'm sorry, that was rude, but that's what I felt like every time someone said that. And people said it quite a bit. So between the pain, the exhaustion, and the remarks that I couldn't take, and people constantly with well-meaning intentions saying, how are you doing? Is everything okay? Like you get to the point where you forget about it for a little while, and then someone would say, how are you doing? And it just comes crashing back on you to remember that you have this shit going on with your face. So I took a little bit of short-term disability to just, because the number one thing you need to do when you have that is rest. You need to rest. You need to avoid stress. You need to stay hydrated. You need to stay, just like well fed. You need to be looking out for number one when that happens. When any illness happens, really, but it's, where stress is directly kind of correlated with Bell's palsy. And I should back up and let you know that Bell's palsy is a virus that is related to the chickenpox virus. Hence my backstory about the cold sore, because they're all viral things that are all kind of related. And who knows what may or may not activate it. Some people, that virus just lays dormant in them forever and they never are bothered by it. Some people get stressed out, and it's an opportunistic virus, so out it comes, and it just kind of travels up the spinal column and decides to attack one of the facial nerves. I'm not exactly sure why it's the facial nerves that it attacks. I have read that it's because those are the smaller nerves and the easier ones to kind of pick on the small kid on the playground, right? So in my case, it was my right side facial nerve. And anyway, so back to, I went on a short-term disability and stayed home. During this time, I had already arranged beforehand to take a day off from work and accompany my daughter on a field trip. And I didn't really know if I wanted to go. I love field trips with my daughter, and for myself, it wouldn't have kept me away. I would have gone. But I had to think of her. And so I said, my face looks like this, and I'm going to go with you. Do you want me to see if Daddy can go or Grampy can go instead? Do you want me to stay home? And oh, my battery, darn it. I'll talk faster. She said, yes, Mommy, I think you should stay home and rest, which was her code word for saying, her little 6-year-old self saying, I don't want you to go. I don't want to look at my mom, the monster, with all my class. So husband went on the field trip, but that was just one little thing that kind of like hurt my heart. But so like I said, this was in the spring. I stayed home. This was kind of before there was a lot of internet use, so at least in my house. So I didn't have a lot to go on other than trips to the library and things that my doctor had given me. So meanwhile, my doctor had referred me to a neurologist. Neurology office calls me. Now, mind you, this was in May, I think. Spring, maybe early June, May. And said, yeah, we can get you in on August something, I don't remember. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? August. It's May right now. I don't think so. I think I need to be seen sooner than that. Because, no. I was so upset. So I called my doctor's office, and that's another thing that's kind of a sad thing that's gone by the wayside. Back in the day, you could have your doctor's office contact another office for you on your behalf and kind of pull the professional courtesy card and say, this is my patient. She really needs to be seen sooner than August. Do you think you could do something better? And when they go physician to physician that way, or provider to provider, you are more likely to get a more accommodating appointment, a sooner appointment. These days where everything's just kind of do it yourself, yep, we'll send the referral and it goes over electronically and they contact you. There's really no, and with everybody just pushing to get in and be seen, everybody wants everything now, 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 now. That really has gone by the wayside. I working for a doctor's office can call another office and ask for a sooner appointment for someone and I'll be told no. It's just the way it is. Back in the old days, if you needed a doctor's appointment, you just showed up in the office and you waited. But these days, with the way appointments are, you show up for your appointment, you're asked to arrive 10 or so minutes early, and most people come 20 minutes late and still want to be seen. And people wonder why things are such a shit show at the doctor's office. It's because we try to accommodate the people who are less than, respectful of our time and in return your time or the next person in line's time. So anyway, that was a little tangent. Anyway, back then it worked. My doctor got me a much sooner appointment. I was seen by the neurologist within a few days. And he gave me just some statistics and some hope. He said that the medication regimen that I was on was appropriate and gave me some facial exercises and facial massage techniques to do, some stress reducing techniques. Haha, that's a joke. And some statistics that made me kind of like, ugh, I could just be like this for the rest of my life. And that was kind of a bummer, but at least I had the reassurance by a neurologist that what I was doing was appropriate and helpful, potentially helpful. So I went on my merry way with my daily regimen of facial exercises and facial massage. And in the beginning, I was told not to do any massage because that could increase swelling to the area and we wanted to reduce swelling. So I stuck with just strictly hands-off exercises, which was just things like making ridiculous faces like, ooh, and like all this crazy stuff, just stretching of the facial muscles. And you don't realize how much you stretch your facial muscles just using your face every day without specifically doing these stretches. But because this wasn't being used, I had to purposely stretch these muscles. So there was that. And then there was the whole issue with the eye. When you have Bell's palsy and you cannot blink your eye, you have to take care of your eye and make sure it doesn't dry out. So at night, I had to use special drops and bandages and close my eye for the night when I would go to sleep. And before I started doing that, my husband had told me he was like freaked out because I'd be sleeping and my one eye would be wide open, like staring at him, except I was asleep. He said it looked like I was dead. It was so weird with my eye open. So me being the smartass that I am, when I started bandaging the eye and putting the drops in, I would draw an eyeball on the bandage just so I could still be looking at him. And I just, some smart ass little thing I did. Those bandages were hard to find and were expensive. You don't want to just use a regular freaking Band-Aid because it doesn't seal all the way around like an ocular bandage does. So out of all the pharmacies I went to, the only one that could order it for me in a reasonable amount of time was Walmart, my friggin' worst favorite store ever. But anyway, so Walmart kept me in the bandages and that was good, and I used the drops. And then the one thing that I didn't know that I found out the hard way was there's a little muscle in your ear that gets clamped down when you hear a loud noise to keep you from like blowing out your hearing ability when you hear a loud noise. And my daughter and I were going to make some cookies or something, and she was in the drawer underneath the stove getting out a cookie sheet, and something went crashed down on the floor. It scared the shit out of me. I thought there was drive-by shooting and I hit the decks. I didn't know what the hell was going on. She just dropped a cookie sheet. It was so freaking fracking loud in that ear, which is another side story about my eventual hearing loss in that ear, which is a whole nother video. But anyway, so one thing I didn't know with Bell's palsy is that that muscle that clamps down on loud noises goes dead, just like all the other muscles. So that was a hard lesson to learn. I had to be careful around loud noises. No fireworks for me that July. But anyway, so it was, fast forward, I think it was a full 90 days. It was like, because I remember it being right around the time that I was going to have that neurology appointment in August. And between doing my facial stretches and my massage, I did a lot of facial massage. I would do those every night as I was laying with the little one to get her to settle down. I would just lay there and just kind of do my massage. And then I also did along the way have a friend who was a Reiki master. And I usually don't believe in that hocus pocus bullshit. I don't know. I mean, I believe in like healing thoughts and whatever, like any kind of good karma will be helpful, but someone just kind of like touching you but not touching you, I think in energy exchange, I think is bullshit. But I was so desperate that I let her do it. So she, like I said, she was a coworker. So we set up a little Reiki session during off hours, and I don't think it cured my Bell's palsy, but I think it just helped me to relax. It helped me to just lay there and clear my mind and let someone else kind of like take care of me. So we did like a good 90-minute session of Reiki, and that was, like is the next thing I was going to try if it didn't go away was acupuncture. I still have never tried acupuncture. I would totally try it, but I didn't get there because happily, not long after the Reiki, it was one night when I was doing my massages. I was laying in bed with my daughter, and she was just falling asleep. And another thing that I would do when I would do the massages is I would try so hard to like smile, close my eye, make my ear move. I would just try this every night. It was so frustrating because it would just be dead, 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 no response. And this one night in August, early August, I could feel just like the barely corner of this mouth, or this side of my mouth, smile. And I was like, oh shit. And I was trying to be quiet because the little one had just fallen asleep. And I did it again and again. And I was like, oh my God. And I woke her up. I know, bad mother. I woke her up. I said, baby, look at mommy. Do you see my mouth? And she was like, oh, mommy, it's moving. And she was so happy. And she was so happy. We had a nice little cuddle session. She went right back to sleep. And then I went downstairs and said to my husband, I'm like, look what I can do. And I showed him this like little bit of movement on my corner of my mouth. And then daily after that, everything, like slowly I was able to blink a little bit. And what it would do is this, I would blink first, and this one would kind of be slow and blink after. But slowly, day by day, I would say within a week, everything was moving again. It wasn't completely normal. I still had some asymmetry, which I still actually have. You can see my mouth is totally crooked when I talk, and it was never like that before. And I have one, this eye is smaller than the other one, and it was never like that before. I don't care. I'm not a vain person. When I get really, really tired, or if I've had too much to drink, or too much, then that I will do the funny thing where this one closes first and this one kind of closes after. It's like just like a little bit of a delay on that eye closing. If I get really exhausted, tired, this eye will just shut altogether. Or if I've had like too much to drink, this eye will just shut altogether. And whatever, that's just a side effect, and it's minor, and it's so infrequent that who cares. But is there another side effect? Oh, my hearing loss. Yeah, that's something I'll talk about in another video. But yeah, so slowly it all came back, and the only thing that lasted other than the asymmetry was I did have a problem with my eyeglasses or my contacts prescription after that. It would change frequently. Like I would go every year because I have contact lenses, so I'd go see the eye doctor every year, and my prescription would be drastically changed from the year before, to the point where sometimes I would go after 4 months or 6 months and be like, something's not right. I can't even see anymore. And it would change again. That lasted for probably 5 or 6 years. And then things finally settled down, and I've had the same prescription, and it's finally the same in both eyes again. So, which I'm blind as a bat. If I don't have my contacts in or my glasses on, I can't see jack squat. So anyway, so that's my Bell's palsy story. And another thing about Bell's is someone who has had Bell's, the statistic is that someone who has had Bell's is more likely to get it again than someone who's never had it. So because of that, I do keep a quantity of the antivirals on hand just in case it happens. There have been probably 5 or 6 times over the years where I felt like it was coming back again. And I was like, oh no, what is happening? Here it comes. And I have a regimen with the antivirals. I just start taking them. And I don't know if it was going to come back and taking the antivirals made it not, or if it was just a false alarm and I thought it was and it wasn't. Who knows? I don't want to find out. I'm not going to push that envelope. But interestingly, since the bells has gone away, and maybe about 10 years after, so probably for about the past 5 years, I do sometimes get that little sore in my nose, but I know what it is now. And again, that's a time when I take the antivirals. And I just thank my lucky stars that it's not cold sores all over my face. You know, you see people who get these big honkers on their lip and my heart just breaks for them. And I just thank my lucky stars that when I get mine, it's up in my nose. And I take that pill, and it's half the time when I take the antiviral regimen, it just goes away and I never even am bothered by it. It's never happened to the point like it happened with that first time when I didn't know what it was and didn't do anything about it. So that's my story about Bell's palsy. And I know I'm one of the lucky ones that it went away, and I have, you know, this minor kind of residual asymmetry. I know some people aren't so lucky and they're left with a lot more asymmetry and a lot more problems. And my heart goes out to those people. And don't listen when the haters tell you you should smile. Just freaking smile if you want to, or don't if you want. And, you know, you're beautiful even the way you are. I don't have any problem with what I have going on here, because it could be a lot worse. And I'm happy and I'm healthy and I have a husband who loves me and a daughter who loves me and a beautiful family and a beautiful life. And I'm very, very lucky. So if you have any questions about my Bell's palsy journey that I went on, leave them below. I'm happy to answer anything. Clearly, I'm a wide open book on this subject. And so if you have any questions or anything, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer you. So thanks for giving me your time and watching. I hope this was helpful to you.